Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and in this video I'm going to be doing a review of the album I'm a Rebel by the band Accept. This is their second album, and it was released in 1980. So before I get into songs, I'm going to name off the band members really quick. Peter Ballets, or Bullets, I don't know how to pronounce that. Peter Ballets on bass, Udo Dirkschneider on vocals, Wolf Hoffman on guitar, Stefan Kaufman on drums, and Jorg Fischer on guitar. Alright, so the album starts off with the song I'm a Rebel, and it sounds like an AC/DC song, because it technically is, but I'll get into that in just a second. I'm going to just talk about the song itself first. Just a very good album opener, just very energetic, very upbeat, sort of up-tempo, sort of almost just a classic rock song. Not necessarily it's not metal, I'm not saying that, but it could just be categorized as a very just good, upbeat rocker. It just is, because it's just a very simplistic song, but it works very well, and it just has a very, very good energy and atmosphere. Really great riffing, great vocal work by Udo, and one of the best guitar solos on the album, really. But yeah, it's just a really good song. Now, what I meant by it kind of sounds like AC/DC, because it kind of is because it was not written by any member of Accept. I don't remember exactly who wrote it, but it was someone who was, it was either one of the band members of AC/DC, or it was their manager or someone, but it was someone connected to AC/DC who wrote the song, and apparently it was supposed to be for AC/DC, but for one reason or another, I don't know if the exact reason was ever given, but the song was shelved, but then it was later sold to Accept. Now, the song musically doesn't sound like it's not from this band, so I don't even know if they got to if AC/DC got to recording the song before selling it to Accept, or if it was just written lyrics and then Accept sort of pretty much built off of that. But yeah, this song does have its origins with AC/DC, oddly enough. But yeah, it's just a really good song, great way to open the album. Now, the next song is called Save Us, which is probably my favorite song on here. It's just a very cool sounding song. It starts off, I guess, pretty typical for, this era of Accept. It is a really cool riff, but the interesting thing about this song is the mid section and the ending. So near the near the mid section of the song, no, not mid section, but coming close to it, I guess you could say, there is this really cool chorus bit. It's kind of a different kind of thing than you would be used to listening, to Accept, or even Udo's, solo project. It goes from your traditional Udo Dirkschneider vocals, but then there's this chorus bit that's very melodic, and Udo, it doesn't quite sound like him, so at the same time, I don't know if it is him or not, but there's no other credits listing here for vocals, or even backing vocals for that matter, so it has to be him, right? But the vocals are very melodic, very soft, but very powerful as well. Like, it's just a very cool, melodic, softer kind of vocal style that, I don't know, most people wouldn't be used to if you're used to the more, again, Udo Dirk Schneider type vocals, which is odd considering that this is him, but yeah, it's just a very cool sort of melodic bit, the melodic riff, again, very melodic and light sort of like vocals. They work very, very well into the song. And then it goes in this really cool guitar solo that's one of two guitar solos on here, or on the song. And it's just a really cool, wild, energetic guitar solo. Then it goes back to the style, just the near the beginning of the song, that kind of like more, traditional almost, except, not traditional except, but it's a more accept-ish kind of thing going on compared to the midsection. And, Udo's back to his more high, shrieky vocals. And then it goes to near the end of the song, and it goes back to that very cool melodic chorus, with those more melodic vocals, and then it has a secondary guitar solo that is not, I don't think, as prominent, I guess you could say, as the first one, but I like it even more because it's even more just wild and out there. And yeah, sure, it's more in the background than the first solo is, but it's still really cool sounding. But yeah, Save Us is my favorite song on here, and probably my favorite Accept song of all time. I have listened to most of their albums so far. I don't own most of them, I only own this one at the moment, but considering almost every single Accept album I've heard, this is still my favorite song. But yeah, just a really cool, unique song that you don't usually hear from this band, considering the stuff they would do onwards. But yeah, really good. Alright, so next up is No Time to Lose, which is one of two ballads on this album, and it's awesome. It's very heartfelt, very melodic. Udo again does this more sort of lighter, sort of melodic, vocal thing. Now it's not as like up-tempo and upbeat as the melodic style of vocals on Save Us, the chorus bit. It's a bit more moody, a bit more almost melancholic kind of thing. It fits the mood of the ballad very, very well. And it also has this really cool riff going on in there as well. This one doesn't really have a solo, which is not really a problem considering the riff and the main chorus just really holds up the song on its own, and it doesn't really need a solo, which is kind of weird because most of the other songs, other than I think like one more, I'll get to that, but most of the other songs have a solo, but this one doesn't, but it doesn't need it. It's very good as it is. But yeah, very melodic ballad, very, again, more kind of like a melancholy type feel to it. But no, I don't really. I mean, I kind of can guess what this song is about. No, I'm not going to go into the lyrics of every single song, but this one kind of is interesting to me for some reason. Like, it kind of, for what I can gather, is about like this guy who, for one reason or another, his lover left him, and maybe it's because he's an alcoholic. Because I hear, now there's no lyric sheet in here, but from what I can, sort of gather, at least from some of the lyrics, there's this lyrics of something, I'll lock away all my booze, something like that. And so it kind of, to me, I don't know if it's correct or not, but with the lyrics I hear, it kind of is like about a guy who might be an alcoholic, and he's like promising he'll lock up all his booze and throw it all out or whatever if she comes back or whatever. But it's just a very interesting song, very beautiful song, and yeah, it's just awesome. So the next song is Thunder and Lightning, which has a very cool opening thing. It starts off as sort of like almost a reverse fade. Like, you know those songs that have a fade out? This has a fade in, which is not that common. Considering, most songs that have a fade, whatever, it's usually a fade out instead of fade in. But is this fade in that has this really cool main riff to it? And then, Udo's vocals on top of that, sort of a shriek going into it. And then it goes into the actual main part of the song. Again, really cool riff. Udo is probably at his highest vocally on this song, I guess, with, octave-wise. Just a really cool sort of mid-paced, not mid-paced, a slightly fast-ish kind of song. It just has a very cool sort of vibe about it, I guess. But yeah, it's just a really great song. And, I honestly don't know why, but to me, like, some of these songs on here kind of seem a little too short. This one kind of does, but at the same time, I don't know, it works. I don't know if the song could have been longer or not, but I don't know, just a minor nitpick. I don't know. But yeah, a really great song. Like I said, really cool fade in and really cool riff. Next up is really the only song on here that I don't really care for all that much, and that's China Lady. I know it's probably the most popular song on this album, probably the most well-liked song on here, considering that most people don't like this album for some stupid reason, but I love this album, but I don't like China Lady. Like I said, most people like this song. Honestly, it kind of feels kind of forgettable to me. Now, I don't think it's a bad song, I just don't find it that memorable. But, yeah. Alright, next up is Wanna Be No Hero. Wanna Be No Hero is a pretty cool song. It's sort of a, I don't know, it's not, like, fast-paced or anything, but it is a brisk pace, I should say. It is a really interesting riff. Now, I'm not really keen in on the main riff. No, I'm not saying the main riff is bad. The main riff is good, but oddly enough, the one kind of riff that really sort of, like, got my attention first listen, and still does now, is this really cool, weird-sounding riff that comes up from time to time in the song. Like I said, it's not the main riff, and again, it only pops up here and there, and it's weird because it's just a weird tuning that kind of sounds pretty cool to me. It's sort of like it has sort of like a buzzing sound to it, like a low-frequency sort of like buzzing sound. I honestly don't know how to describe it very well, but again, this riff pops up from time to time on the song, and it's not even a main riff. It's a kind of in the mix. It's kind of back in the mix. Like everything else is near the front. This sort of lower riff is in the back, so it's kind of like overshadowed by everything else. But when it pops on in this song from time to time, it just sounds very cool. And I think it's just because of the way it's tuned, just the way the riff is. It kind of sounds very unique and very cool and stuff. As for everything else, everything else is pretty good. Also the vocals on here, I just really like the vocals on here. It's again very simplistic, like with a lot of these, but it works very, very well. But yeah, really cool and interesting song. The next song is The King, and it's the second ballad on here, and I might like it a little bit more than the first ballad, which again is No Time to Lose. This one, I think it's acoustic, honestly, at least part of it, maybe. Now, I don't think it's all acoustic, because there is the bass in there, and of course the drums, but I think, I may be wrong about this, but it really sounds like the two main guitars are acoustic on this one. Now, I might be wrong. They might be, standard electric guitars just tuned weirdly to sound acoustic. But nonetheless, it still sounds really cool. It has the acoustic kind of sound to it. And like with the, what was the other one? Like with No Time to Lose, it doesn't have a solo. Well, it kind of does. There's this little bit that goes by pretty fast. Like, it's super short, and I can't really count it as a solo because it's technically not. But it's just a really cool song, and like I said, has no solo, but it's still very, very good. Again, it's this very melodic ballad type song that sounds very acoustic. And it's just a very beautiful acoustic sort of like riff. Not very complicated, but the melody and emotion through the simplistic riff and just Udo's vocals are really, really good. Udo, again, does this more melodic, softer vocal style, compared to his usual high shrieks. And it just fits very well. I honestly think Udo's vocals on this album, the more, mellow, sort of melodic vocals he does from time to time, I think that's what makes this album very unique. But actually, I'll get into that a little bit later. I'm getting a little bit off track. But yeah, The King is a very good ballad and just so melodic. And then the last song is Do It. And yeah, what a great way to end the album. Another very simplistic sounding song with a very simplistic but catchy riff. And Udo, his vocals don't stand out that much on the song, but you know what? It doesn't matter because his vocals are there and they're good. But the main standout is the riff. Again, really good riff work and just very cool sounding. Yeah, so those are the songs. So before I get into my final thoughts on the verdict, I'm just gonna go over the artwork and stuff really quickly. Yeah, most people don't really recognize this version of the artwork, mainly because it's not a more well-known image, I guess. Because here's the thing. Most people either know the original European version, which is the artwork of like everybody in like a phone booth or whatever, and then there's the other version that it's similar to this, but it's basically this image, but a lot more realistic looking. And that version came out after this. This is the original U.S. Print or pressing. So the initial U.S. pressing, for whatever reason, had a slightly different look. Again, it's the same sword hilt thing, but it's a bit more cartoonish looking here. Which, honestly, I don't know why, but I just like the silly cartoonish look of this version. Now, I do like the more realistic version as well. That would come shortly after, but I don't know. This one, even though it's super cartoony, it kind of has a really interesting charm to it, especially with those red eyes, those like over exaggerated red eyes. Also, this version doesn't have the title of the album on here. Later versions would have, like earlier and later versions. I mean, the European version had the title of the album "I'm a Rebel" on it, and the U.S. version after this, which again had the more realistic looking thing on here, had the title of the album on here. This version doesn't. I don't know why, but whatever. It's just a really cool looking image, even if it is a bit cartoonish. And I just like I like the little background thing, which is like a bright light illuminating from it. And like the logo is kind of like attached to the hilt, or it's the hilt or something, but it looks cool. The back isn't really that interesting. It's just a picture of the band members. And, yeah, I mean, some of them kind of look like they're from, like, a glam metal band. Especially this Peter Bellitz and Wolf Hoffman. They look like, almost rejected band members of Poison. They kind of look like if, you know, I don't know. They just kind of look like rejected members of Poison for some reason. Very, very overrated glam metal band, to be perfectly honest, but I'm getting off topic. Yeah. Honestly, the back could have been a little more interesting, but, you know, having a picture of the band members is still pretty cool. Considering that the later version, for whatever stupid reason, they decided to mess with the image. They decided to take the actual regular coloring here of the actual photo and just completely ruin it with like a bluish haze, like a blue tint, like blue. They kind of looked like members of the Blue Men Group, just because they, for some reason the later version has like everything is blue. For some reason, everything, even the clothes are all blue. I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I do like this earlier version where it's just the actual image. Now, there's not really any sort of, you know, inner thing. There's no like lyric sheet or anything. Although there is something I want to point out. When I got this, I got this in near mint, but somebody already had, I guess, technically replaced the sleeve. It's the same, or not the same, it's a similar sleeve, right? This thing. But the original sleeve is still in here, and it's not like it's like damaged or anything in order why they replaced it. It's just sitting in here, like, wait, look at that. That's the original sleeve, and it's not damaged. It's in perfect condition, like pretty much mint condition. So I don't know why they decided to remove the vinyl and put it in a different sleeve. But I mean, I guess I kind of, you know, I guess it's kind of a bonus because then you have an extra sleeve. I have an extra sleeve just in case the other one rips. Yeah, that was very interesting. Alright. The only downside is that the sleeve that it came in, or at least the outer sleeve, is kind of very finicky, and it does have a little bit of a lip here, so it's kind of hard to like just align the actual case with the again, the plastic sleeve. Anyway, so overall, it's a near perfect album. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Now, most people hate this album. I don't know why. Now, people say that it's overly cheesy and it doesn't really sound like Accept. And so what? It's still a very good album. Like, just like Turbo. People, you know, shit on Turbo by Judas Priest because it's cheesy and it doesn't sound like Judas Priest. So what? It's a good album nonetheless. And yeah, I actually really, really like it. Now, the very first song I heard was Save Us. Now, at first when I heard this, or at least when I heard this version, it was kind of odd, because I think the version I heard on YouTube originally was from a remastered version, because it sounded slightly different. But, you know, if you're looking for anything that's, like, remastered, honestly, honestly, I have no opinion on that. Like I said, there's only one song I heard before, which might have been remastered, but I don't know, so I can't really say. But if you're looking for, you know, an original copy, it sounds very, very good. Now the production isn't, you know, super top tier or anything, but it still sounds really good. It's sort of a crisp, clear production, but at the same time, it doesn't sound too slick or anything. For a 1980 album, the production is pretty good. Even if there's some bits here and there that sound a little weird at times. But yeah, the production is great. The guitar work is great. The vocals are great. And I'd say out of all the Accept albums, now I have heard most of them, out of all of them, this definitely sounds the most unique. And yeah, I absolutely love it. It's 9 out of 10. A near perfect album and a very underrated gem. Alright, so that's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.